Hey, what is going on everybody? It is Nolan, or the Optimistic Gamer here, and welcome back to the Optimistic Survival Series. You might not recognize where we are. That is because this is a pretty new addition. As of last Friday, we have finished off the interior for our windmill once and for all, something that we built a long time ago and had a creeper incident that we still not have fully addressed yet, but it is finally finished and I am very happy with how it turned out. So I will go ahead and give you a quick tour of this, and then we will start with the rest of today's episode. So in here, we have a nice seating area next to the window overlooking the valley, a cozy little living space next to the fireplace right over here, a small workshop area. Up here we have a kitchen, and then across the outside walkway right here, we have the cozy little bedroom, one of my favorite areas of the valley so far. We built this on a live stream, the very first live stream that I have done. We were on for about 2.5 hours, just crossing off multiple housekeeping items. Alongside the interior for the windmill, we also finished up building the posts and the stone of our wall. If we fly up here on top of the tall spruce trees, we will see that we now have our stone wall stretching from this end of the valley, curving around. We haven't done anything with that giant cave area yet. We will work on that in the future, but then extending that all the way out to the bridge. Again, this was also done on the live stream, and that is something that I hope to do every Friday for a few hours, and we will just dedicate that time to various tasks that won't necessarily get an entire episode, but still need to get done. So that includes things like repetitive building, resource gathering, such as wood or stone. We did start a quarry a ways away, and also just some miscellaneous things that, again, we won't necessarily feature in an entire episode. But why don't we go ahead and get some sleep in our brand new windmill right up here. Of course, it will set a new spawn point for us. That's okay, I wouldn't mind respawning right here, God forbid we die. But I am not planning on doing that today because we are working on something that doesn't involve very much danger. We are building a few trees. Now, if you saw the bundles episode, you will know that we were going to be building some large trees in that episode, but we switched last minute because of the new update, the addition of the bundles, which of course, as you saw in that episode, I did find out later on that they can only be made with leather, not with rabbit hide, but because of that, we have ourselves a rabbit enclosure up there. But today we are building some large trees because we have a handful of large-scale buildings, including the museum, our original storage hall, which is now our town hall, our villager trading hall right here, and our storage building over in that direction. Even our house is fairly sizable, so if we fly over here and turn around and go ahead and pause the game, we will see that we have quite a few large buildings, and they definitely look sort of out of place right now. A big reason for that is because of the trees. You'll see that some of our largest trees, the cherry trees right here where my cursor is, they are still significantly smaller than these buildings. Now, of course, we could plant some spruce trees, the extra tall variants, or some jungle trees, but those will begin to look out of place and they will get very repetitive. Now, that's not to say that a row of spruce trees here or there, or jungle trees with the vines removed so we don't have a mess of that, can't look good, but I don't want to have that everywhere. So we are going to build a few different types of fairly large trees today, primarily using oak, birch, and dark oak, wood, and leaves. Now, I haven't really thought this out in creative a whole lot, and that is to say I haven't done any planning actually, but we are just gonna kind of improvise as we go. I can already kind of see where we might want to have a few trees, including right here in front of the museum, maybe one right here in between our house and the trading hall, and maybe one over in this corner right here next to our wolf house. We may also put one over in this direction adjacent to our storage building, although I kind of like that to be a little exposed, as I am still very happy with how that looks, and I think it fits in really nicely, and it matches with the cherry trees, so I think having those will be enough. Maybe we will go ahead and build a large cherry tree though, we will have to see. But we should have a lot of leaves already. Let's have a look in here. We have quite a bit of oak leaves and quite a bit of dark oak, but we will need even more than this. So we are gonna make some shears today. Now I'm pretty sure a hoe works as well. In fact, if we go up here and break that leaf, yes, it does work, but we have not had any great shears throughout this episode or the series, and even in our toolbox, all we have are these worn down shears right here with no enchantments on them. I think it's time we got ourselves some better shears, so let's grab some out of our tools over here. If I can find our shears, here they are, and we have some that are almost fully repaired. We will go ahead and combine those with our current set and get a brand new set of shears. And then we also need some enchantments for this, so let's head over to our enchantment space in our house. Now the biggest thing for these shears are going to be Silk Touch, Mending, and Efficiency. Unbreaking is ideal as shears don't have a high durability to begin with, but with Mending, as long as we have that on there, it isn't detrimental to us. So let's find a few of those books. I think these are all level 1 books, except for that sweeping edge in there. In here we might find something a little bit better. Unbreaking 2, we will grab that just in case. It may require a trip to the village. Okay, here we go. These are all of our max level books. So we have Efficiency 5, Unbreaking 3, here is Silk Touch, and it doesn't look like we have Mending. So Mending will be the last one that we need to get from the village. Since we have the 2 of those, we will go ahead and combine them and throw that Unbreaking 3 book in there. And let's start crafting these shears. Again, Silk Touch is... I take it back, I guess Silk Touch does not go on shears. That's okay, it saves us levels. I guess that makes sense, it already kind of has a Silk Touch aspect to it. There goes our anvil. Luckily we did set some aside when we were taking all of them out to build the museum. So we will place that, not throw it down on the ground right there. And everything is on there now, well, at least Efficiency 5 and Unbreaking 3. We just need to get Mending. And it looks like the villagers are still in fact breeding, always a good sign. Although I don't think it matters too much because I do want to get some of our librarian villagers started in our trading hall for this exact reason. I can never find where our Mending villager is located. And here we are for 14 emeralds, a Mending book, and we will get those put on our shears. Excellent. So now, of course, in addition to the ability for shears to remove things like leaves or grass or anything like that, it is also efficient for removing wool. In fact, with haste 2, we can instantly break it. That is wonderful for us. I'm glad we have this addition to our tool belt. But now we need to go get a few more leaves, we need to chop down a little bit more wood, and we will get to work on our first tree. So we have plenty of oak wood, we have plenty of oak leaves, and we are going to get started right here in front of the museum. I do actually have a video on my channel for tree tutorials. We are going to follow sort of a similar pattern. If you saw, I think I made 2 of them. I will link both of those in the description, but we're going to do something a little bit similar. These are going to be very free-flowing, very organic, and not a whole lot to them. So we are going to start with a few roots, just some blocks carved out of the ground, and some oak wood logs placed into them. I'm thinking of having our main trunk right here, ultimately ending as a 1 block wide trunk, but this will just continue up for a ways at the 2 block by 2 block 2 by 2 width. So we will have this again go up just a little bit, not too far. We don't want these trees to overwhelm the museum or the trading hall, but we really want them to fill in the space in between them quite nicely. So we are going to have a few branches that kind of extend up in many different directions here, and as we do this, we will remove some of the extraneous limbs, just get those oak logs out of there. I think that one can stay, that is fine. And it's all about, again, just having organic flow with this. Many different directions, very abstract, different levels, different all kinds of stuff. And what we will see most likely, as long as this goes as planned, is once all of these branches are finished, when we step away, we should have what looks like a dead tree. Again, assuming that this is done correctly. So let's step back from this and have a look at it so far. We are definitely getting there. Of course, the trunk right here, the base, is very blocky. We will work on that a little bit, but other than that, I think things are looking pretty nice. I did see an area right here that needs to be fixed. There we go. We will remove that oak wood right there. But again, overall, I think it is looking pretty good. I think we could go a little bit taller on this. Not by a lot, just a couple blocks maybe. And then again, have a couple more branches here at the top. Maybe one more going off in that direction like that. And then I think we need one more branch right in here. And now if we fly away from this and have a look, I think that is pretty good. Again, the base here is pretty blocky, so I think we will place a couple more oak logs around it, just like this. And we can always extend out the roots if we need to as well. I think that is looking a little bit better. And then maybe we will do a couple more roots in each direction here. And there we go. So now with all of our logs into place, it's time to start filling in the leaves. The way I like to do this is just cover up each of these different branches by a couple blocks in each direction. So on the bottom, I like to place a couple of leaves, usually only 1 or 2 on the bottom though. Those aren't usually super covered up. It's the top canopy that really fills in on some of these large trees. And I think we might even do one more branch right here, just a single oak log, nothing too large, and we might even leave it exposed underneath. So I know it doesn't look like much of anything right now, but the sort of base layer, I guess, going around the immediate part of the tree has been filled in with leaves. Again, we are leaving some of those undersides open and exposed. So now we can fly up on top of the tree and start to fill in from the center. And of course, we have another rainstorm. Hopefully it is not thunder and lightning. It looks like we are safe. That would not be a good time for that, working on top of a tree during a thunderstorm. But now we can start to fill in between all of these leaves here in the middle, because we know that that will definitely be filled in. Just a few blocks out from the main part of the tree. And then once we get to the top, just a few more leaves around all of these logs up here. Again, just very organic shapes with this, not really thinking about how all of these leaves are being placed. So now let's fly away again, and we should see that we have a pretty good shape coming together. I'm pretty happy with that. Of course, it is kind of a mess right now with those leaves in the middle, very blocky, and then all of the logs sticking out from it. But trust me, this will look great once it is finished. We're just going to continue to sprinkle in those leaves around all of these branches, and we may even throw in a beehive or two once we finish. And then right here, where we don't really have any branches, we're just going to focus on making sure that this is nice and rounded and organic looking, and not so much like a Minecraft tree, more so like a real tree. It's certainly a lot more difficult doing this in survival than in creative, because there isn't really a good way to fly back and see how things are looking and what needs to be adjusted. So we're just kind of filling in as much as we can on top right now, and then we will go back and hopefully it looks good. My guess is on this very first go at it, it's not going to look particularly great, so we will have to go back and make some adjustments. But let's fly over onto the roof of the trading hall. That will give us a pretty good look. And that's actually not bad. It needs to be rounded off a little bit more. I think we actually will fill in on the bottom a little bit. I'm pretty happy with how the top is looking though, but maybe we will round that off just a little bit more. Like that. From the underside, it's actually not horrible, but again, we are going to fill in a little bit more and extend some of these leaves down a little ways. That's looking a little bit better. There we go. I think that has filled in quite nicely. Again, it is pretty rounded. That is kind of what I was going for on this tree. We will have some that are even larger that extend out a very long ways, some of those giant trees that you see pictures of on Planet Minecraft and stuff like that. But for now, we are just focused on a few trees like this, just to add a little bit more variance in the landscape around the village. But that's our first tree finished. Already, I think the valley is looking even better, at least the town center, with some of those larger trees. I know this isn't too much bigger than the large oak trees, but it definitely looks a lot nicer than some of those. You can see one of them up on the mountainside over there, and a few more off in the distance. They aren't super rounded sometimes. They can have these weird juts from the center. But with our first tree out of the way, I think we can move on to our next tree. For our next tree, I think we are going to go right down here in between the trading hall and our house. We are going to go with an evergreen right here, but we are using birch leaves instead of spruce. So this is going to give us more of a pine tree look rather than a spruce tree look. We are going to build this with spruce logs though, so I think we're just going to go right here in the middle. I think that will look fine for us. Now, of course, it's a pine tree. They are pretty symmetrical, so we are just going to keep this as symmetrical as possible. We're going to go up a little ways. I don't know if we want to go taller than the trading hall. Maybe we'll go taller than the trading hall, but keep it shorter than our chimney. That will give us some good variation in the height. With our birch leaves here at the top, we are going to place a couple right up there, but then we are going to start working from the bottom up. Now it's going to be fairly rounded at the bottom, so we are just going to do maybe 3 blocks out in each direction, maybe even 4 if we could get away with it, but then we are just going to fill in right here with our birch leaves like that. I think we will stick with 3. I think that is looking like a good height for us. So something like that. I don't know though. With the height of this tree, I think we might actually want to do 4. So let's go out by 1 more on each side. Yeah, I think that will be a little bit better for the height of this tree. So we will then extend the base a little bit more here. There we go, something like that. And now we can start to build our way up towards the center and the top of this tree. So let's step back from this and see how it's looking. Yeah, I kind of like that so far. So we're starting to fill in the leaves on the inside. Again, we don't want a hollow tree. That would look a little bit odd. So just filling in all of these birch leaves right here. We may go back and sprinkle in a few other leaves just for some variation in the color, but I'm actually pretty happy with how these birch leaves look for this tree. So now we're going to start to build our next row going up, and I just want to make sure that we are going to get to that height by the time that this gets all the way up there. I suppose we could always adjust the top accordingly. Alright, and we have made it to the top, but we are a little bit short. I don't want to extend these leaves up, although actually we might, and it might look okay. Let's see how that looks. We'll fly away from here over onto our roof right here. Oh yeah, I think that turned out great. Let's fly on top of this cherry tree and get a better angle of it. Oh yeah, I think that fits in perfectly right here. What we might do here at the bottom, though, is maybe take a few of these birch leaves off right there, just to round things out at the base. I think that is a good look for this tree. But again, nice and symmetrical on all sides. And we may also extend these leaves up right here by one more on those corners, just like this. That way it doesn't look so blocky. And there we have it, tree number 2. So if we fly up here and turn around, and we'll go ahead and pause the game, now those buildings are starting to look a little bit more in place. I still think we need a giant tree right here, about twice the size of this current oak tree, but things are definitely starting to look a lot more to scale. Of course, we have this azalea tree that we planted. Again, that was done with just placing down flowering azalea throughout the tree and bone mealing it, and it gives us a pretty good looking large tree. Now, obviously, sometimes those trees can be a little bit weird with the sides of them being flat and all, but with a little bit of touching up, we can make those look pretty good. But I think that is actually where we are going to end things for today. I will continue to make a few of these trees. We may even do some on the live stream on Saturday, which will be at 12 p.m. Eastern time, so definitely tune in if you are able to make it during then. Of course, you can always go back and watch those live streams after they have ended. But for today, if you enjoyed this episode, definitely hit that thumbs up button and make sure you are subscribed so you don't miss out on daily content as soon as I publish it. Check the description for some more important information, links, how to contact me, all of that good stuff. And with all of that being said, comment, like, subscribe, remember to stay optimistic, and I will see all of you tomorrow. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Bye!